All right, folks, here we go. Yes, I understand. It's true. Yes, a little bit late coming on, but that's all right. Still going to be just fine. What a period of 12 hours in Woonsocket. Really horrifying. It is. My goodness. Yep, there he is. All right, we're going to begin in just a moment. Just a moment. Gian says audio was good. He's a pro. 1 o'clock. Yes. Um, and the story, folks, is just it's so horrible. And we never know. Obviously, I was glad last night that we were there, and so we could bring you the coverage and bring you the latest right now. So we're going to begin at 1:06 on this Tuesday. There they are. I don't understand. We're going to walk through the Woonsocket killer, Sean Rivera. There is a name that people are not going to forget anytime soon in Woonsocket. Now, I'm also going to touch on the Smithfield situation, but I do want to give you the latest with what happened last night. I want to commend the Woonsocket police. That was a very difficult situation to be in. To be walking into. And still gathering information. I think a lot of people are, and rightfully so, in shock over the whole thing. I also want to mention, as we were on Rathbun Street. Now, I also just want to quickly mention, many times when you do captions, the caption doesn't exactly add up. But I'm always surprised that of all the things that people could focus on, then people zero in on that. I know it's Rathbun. You had a horrible situation, essentially 3 dead. And the story is just so gruesome, and people jumping on the fact that with one of the captions on it, again, that's voice generated. It said Rathburn. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Very, very difficult. We're going to give you the latest. And I feel terrible for Kimberly and Donald. I think if you knew them, related to them, I've just heard really nice things about them. And so it's just so horrible, but we're going to bring you the latest. And then I'm also going to touch on Smithfield and also Woonsocket. Those are our 3. I think tonight we may do a live stream of Woonsocket, the triple, and then also the Central Falls developments, of which there's a lot. And maybe even Smithfield. I don't know, but I want to stay on schedule. Folks, this portion of the program, I mentioned the Coesit Inn. And we have so much information up on our website, depetro.com. The Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. As I like to say, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, and they're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. And let me work in one more. This portion of our program brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today for all your heating and cooling. Call Propane Plus 401-885-4209 or in Massachusetts 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus online at propaneplus.com. Cindy, Donna was my sister's nephew. No, I don't know. Oh, Donald. I think you meant Donald. Donald was your sister's nephew. Okay, that threw me. Here's what we know. At 6:45 last night, Monday night. Stay with me. Woonsocket police were called to 411 Rathbun Street for a report of shots fired. Upon arrival, officers located 3 gunshot victims in the apartment. All 3 subjects succumbed to their injuries. They are identified as Kimberly Paranzuni, 40 years old, Donald Roderick, 45, and Sean Rivera, 24 years old. So this is the latest on what police are saying transpired. So Kimberly, and you see her on the screen, Kimberly lived in the apartment with her boyfriend, Donald, and her 19-year-old daughter, who is an adult. We could show. I have a photo of the daughter. I'm not going to do that. But she is an adult. So Kimberly's living there with her boyfriend, Donald, and her daughter. And then, for whatever reason, they allow her boyfriend, Sean, to live there as well. The investigation has revealed Sean and the 19-year-old girlfriend were discussing this strained relationship when suddenly Sean Rivera, now again, right now, we're live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can listen online at our website, dpetro.com. And then right now, we're also live on X, YouTube, and Facebook. He suddenly pulls out a weapon during the argument and demands sexual relations. Demanded sexual. The 19-year-old female, the daughter now, Sean, who's on your screen, Sean Rivera, that's her boyfriend. He sexually assaults his 19-year-old girlfriend. She, the girlfriend, the 19-year-old, she flees to her mother Kimberly's bedroom. And then Sean Rivera, he goes into the bedroom, gains access. No robbery. Shoots Kimberly, the mother, multiple times. The girlfriend, the daughter, she flees the building, flees the apartment to contact police. But at that moment, sadly, Donald, the mother's boyfriend, he's arriving home from work. Just happens to stumble into this. Sean Rivera shoots Donald and then ultimately turned the gun on himself. The daughter, the 19-year-old female, called the police from a local business, reported the incident. .38 caliber was seized from his possession, later to be determined to be stolen from Maine. Incident is specific to the residents of the apartment. There was no active threat to the public. Let's back up just for a moment, folks. And again, yes, there is. I didn't say, I want to be very cautious. I didn't say there's no photo, but yes, there is a picture of the daughter. Thank you, Tammy. Sean Rivera was already on an ankle bracelet, by the way. I didn't know that. Okay. Yes. As I've mentioned, I'm hesitant to draw attention to the daughter. So I'm going to request people that are making comments. There's no reason right now. She's going through enough. So why don't we, just for our purposes, we don't need to highlight the daughter who is going through all of this. Okay. So there's larger things at play. Exactly right. So we don't need photos. We don't need to know where there's a picture of her. We're going to, I want you to, again, I try to be very patient with people, but this is just horrific. You know, there's a lot at play here. It is. Now, I don't know all the conditions. Exactly right, Jay. I'm telling you, Jay, we're on the same page. We're on the same page. That's why I'm trying to be very kind and direct people. We don't need to post a photo. We don't need to put her name. She already has to deal with that. Okay, I didn't realize that. Thank Chris has some information here. At 6:55, they were scanner. They had him hiding in the closet. Okay, that's new. The police did not say that, by the way. So you maybe, and I'll give you that, maybe no more than I do. So that is exactly right. Well, again, just like slow down, um, Tammy Graziano. And I'm not trying to draw attention to the chat, but this is one of those times, folks. I really wish people would just like slow down, think for a minute. And Tammy, here's a suggestion. You can go from now till 2 o'clock. You don't have to comment. You can watch. I often encourage people, pretend you're watching television. When you're watching television, you don't keep commenting on the screen. I never understand the people that feel the need to do that. Maybe they feel they need to let everyone know they know what's going on. Now, I want to stay on schedule. There's a lot to be said about this case. And I also want to talk about what we saw last night. And that is now, last night, when we were there, I wasn't wrong. I said only 2 people came out by rescue. So if they're not looking for a suspect, the third person, and we did say that at the scene, 2 males. Someone said sounds like a love triangle. It wasn't a love triangle. So we were not wrong. Sean Rivera was dead in the residence. But I want to touch on some of the surroundings last night. Yes, they do, Bill. So look she still feels the name. She still feels the need to, I don't understand it. Do you understand what no comment means? I mean, do I really have to block someone? Can we tell the moderators? Can we suspend Tammy Graziano for a little while? I don't understand that. Why someone just continues to feel they've got to try to make themselves the story. I don't understand it. But I want to stay on schedule, folks. And I want to remind you, I want to talk a little bit about last night. I could have stayed longer. But I want to touch on that a little bit. But I also want to remind you about Watson Materials. Call Watson Materials today. Request a quote from Sean at 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. Watson Materials. Folks, make the most of your outside. They have the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials. 401-885-0600. So again, to repeat, it was an isolated incident. I'm going to withhold comment. I want to just, I think there's a lot of times when these things happen, though. I think there's situations that I didn't know that about the ankle bracelet. I didn't know that about that he was on an ankle bracelet. I'm not trying to be judgmental here, but you're 19 years old. Sounds like you've had a very wonderful, loving, understanding mother. But this business of, did you really need to have your 24-year-old boyfriend? There's no ring. I understand that housing can be a challenge. It seems to be a theme of some of the stories. Rehoboth, Kylie had a housing challenge where then even a friend is saying, I know you're pregnant, go stay at Crossroads. She claimed she had nowhere to go, so she takes an Uber to her boyfriend, Greg Groom, who then kills her in the front yard. We have the Central Falls story with poor Erica. Her home life, she was so unhappy at home, she was willing to live in squalor conditions in a 2-bedroom apartment in Central Falls with 1 bathroom, 6 adults, plus children, plus endless people in and out. And we learned 40 animals inside, 6 dogs and 34 cats. But Erica decided it was better to live there than to live with her family. So that speaks volumes. I don't know all the dynamics of this, but you have a boyfriend who has a gun. You're not married. It's not a brother. It's not an uncle or a cousin. But now he's there. And he's living there. And now, I mean, the whole thing. But I want to talk about a little bit of the surroundings last night. Okay. I get that. The kid in the picture, niece's ex-boyfriend. I don't understand. All these people like to make sure everyone knows they have some connection to the people involved, but thus that's the way it is. But last night, as we were there, first of all, at one point, these young boys, and I think they were about 12 or 13, and one of them, and they're yelling at each other and swearing and fighting. And then as we're there, now I'm there, admittedly, Channel 12 was there first. We got there second. Channel 10 was third. Obviously, some of the people, by the way, in the neighborhood were very nice. Couldn't have been nicer. Miss M, very, very nice. Some of the women that came over, very, very nice. I heard, and I want to correct, someone posted, why do I hear people laughing? You got to understand, we don't know exactly what happened. We certainly didn't know when we went live that there were 3 people who were dead. And at one point, I even said to, I believe it was a mother and daughter, I know you're nervous, but you can't have nervous laughter because then people hear you laughing. But what really threw me were there were 2 boys. I'm going to guess maybe 11 and 12, and they're playing with a football, and it's 9:00 at night, and you have a crime scene across the street where there's a dead person inside, and 2 people were just taken out of there dead. And I'm not going to say anything because I'm not their parent. But what are those kids doing there? Why do you have to play football right here? You have the whole street to go play. Go to a field. Go home. And of course, the football keeps getting closer and closer because why? They want to be on the it's. I can't imagine having those types of children in school. They don't belong there. Much like, and I'm not trying to go after the mother who is literally sitting in the middle of the crime scene with the 2 daughters, 8 and 10. I mean, to me, that is common sense. And they're watching my feed and then waving. I want to be very clear. We didn't know what had happened. So for all I knew, someone had told me, well, maybe they're connected. They're waiting for a family member that's coming over to help them grieve or comfort them in some way. No, it's just a mother sitting out there watching our live stream with the 2 kids. I mean, when we hear about all these problems in the woonsocket schools, I know it's the children that obviously are the problems in the schools, but just based on what I observed. Now, again, I want to be very clear. It wasn't everybody, but there's a pattern, and I've talked about this. And it's usually that age. To me, if you're 11 or 12, I don't know how old these kids were. I thought one of them said, I'm 12. It's 9 at night. There is a crime scene where 3 people were killed. Number 1, you don't belong there. That's number 1. And 2, you don't start playing football as if you're entertaining yourselves. I fully understand children don't know. They don't have common sense. But where are the parents? I am just, that's one of the reasons. I'm not going to say the reason, but it's just annoying. And again, I'm not going to say anything. They're not my children. I'm not a coach. I'm not a teacher. I don't, the way they approach you, there's no respect. I can't imagine. I mean, I get that they watch me and so they call me by my first name, but to me, if you're under the age of 18, it should be Mr. or Mrs. or whoever, or Miss. They don't even realize. And the parents standing out there, it's foreign to me. They shouldn't be there. Just like last night. And again, I'm not trying to, bully that mother, but those kids shouldn't be sitting outside. Imagine you're sitting on the steps looking, everyone's looking at us. You're not like in the Macy's Day Parade. In front of your home, there's a yellow crime scene tape. 3 people were killed in the apartment behind you. Sitting out, waving to me. It's terrible. It's terrible. Um, I don't know all of the ins and outs with this. So I I know, just terrible. Oh, okay. Now we can't be live. Hmm, that's really interesting. We shouldn't we shouldn't be broadcasting from a scene. News shouldn't be there where there's three dead. Okay, that's one thought. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out who it is that then would decide. Um, no, we'll talk about all different aspects of it. I basically gave those are the facts of the case. Those are the facts. As of right now, we don't have a lot of other information. So I don't know who that is. I'm the daughter. Um, I find it hard to believe that if you lost your parent and you are, if that's accurate, I have no idea why, because that's not the name. I don't understand why, with everything that just happened, if you would be in our chat. So, all right, I'm going to do you a favor. So we have someone in the chat claiming that they're the daughter. So you're the daughter who it was your boyfriend. So your boyfriend is the one that happened. And here it is, less than 24 hours later. You should go speak to someone. You should be with family. There's going to be funeral arrangements that need to be made. Again, it's a free country, but I don't understand. Now, if you want to tell us exactly what happened, that's one thing. Obviously, I can't have her on because we've already learned that they don't watch their language. So you're the daughter. No one said you went to the woonsocket schools. See, this is now again, we don't exactly know. This could be someone. I'm not exactly sure what happened. We're going off what the woonsocket police said. The woonsocket police said that he was living there. So I want to be very clear, folks. I am right now, we're going off information that was put out by the woonsocket police. We run into this problem where people aren't sure, they're angry, and they want to blame someone. No, we're not going to do that. Not until we need to have it proved a little bit more. In these situations, people don't watch their language. I'm going to say right now, maybe later. I think we're going to do a live stream on it later tonight. And I am going off the statement that was put out by the police. So they're identified, lived in the apartment with her boyfriend, Donald, her 19-year-old daughter, and Sean, the daughter's boyfriend. So I want to say right now, to whether it's the daughter or the family, then you need to contact the woonsocket police because they're putting out that Sean Rivera lived in that apartment. We have all things are kind of breaking out here. I don't understand what all this is. No, I've already explained that. We're not doing that because they don't know how to. This is. I'm doing it on her behalf. Someone that just went through that is very traumatizing. Someone that just went through that should not be doing live. If you want to do live, if you want to go live, then I guarantee you, you could either come back later. We will do a live tonight on it, or maybe even late this afternoon, or you can, I'm sure that if you contact, exactly right, Janet. Yep. Yes. Now look at this again, and I hate, she needs space. She needs space. Let her be. Do you realize that she came into our live chat? She came into our live chat. Now I want to, and I'll explain why I'm not going to do it, is because right now we are also live on the radio. She doesn't have to stand up for herself. We're live on the radio, and there are certain guidelines with the radio, and she can come on later. But I highly encourage her, if she's claiming that he didn't live there, then she needs to contact the Woonsocket police. So, because the Woonsocket police put out a statement saying that Sean Rivera lived at the residence. That's what they put out. So and they were in that apartment. So I don't know how the Woonsocket police could get it wrong. So they're saying he did not. He didn't live there. Then your argument, we go through this. No. Now, look at this. Do you think, look at this. I'd like to know who you're posing that question to. I'm saying that she shouldn't come on. Do you think she's in any form? I know that. I agree with you, Brandy. This is someone demanding. So, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They all live together. She's claiming he didn't live there. I am not going by the news media. I'm going by the Woonsocket police. Now, there is a pattern. This is like they won't like it, but this is kind of like the Patrick Pass situation. Patrick Pass of North Providence, the police chief and the mayor had a press conference. They said he was charged with felony assault on someone over 60. Patrick Pass friends and family are blaming me for reporting what the mayor and the chief of police of North Providence said. What did I take it up with them? Take it up with them. What do you think? I imagined it in a dream? Yes. If I wanted to, I could check Channel 10 and Channel 12. I'm sure, here's a spoiler alert, okay, for the friends and family. Friends and family. That information that he lived there, if that is not accurate, you need to contact the Woonsocket police and have them revise that. Because otherwise, do you understand? It's going to show up with all of the media that got that information. So this business of you don't know what you're talking about, and let her come on and defend herself. So we have someone saying, yes, later on, they all live together. Listen, with what happened last night and how traumatic that was, these people let her on. No, she should not. She wants to come on later, she can come on later. But no, we're not having on right now. I advise you not to do that, not in the heat of the moment. And I can imagine how traumatizing it is. So I'm just not based on what? I am reporting exactly what the police put out. I don't even know what that means. Her family is not one to mess with. Who said anyone's messing? I really don't understand and appreciate some of the comments that we're seeing. Look at this guy. I'm not. Well, then why are you watching? I don't understand that. I understand it's a very heated time, but I don't understand many of these people. And I mean, I kind of get it. They're angry and who they want to take the anger out on. So we were live last night. And yes, thank you, Lisa. Lisa, and she I don't even understand what you're talking about. I don't. But listen, if you are friends and family, I didn't think we were going to have to deal with this. But if you're friends and family you should be grieving and you should be with that individual and not. I get it. They're angry and they want to try to find someone to bring their anger out on. So, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by, remember, call to get your garage epoxied quality asphalt seal coating. Call Corey today, 401 283 9815. 401 283 9815 for quality asphalt seal coating. They could epoxy your garage and patio, decorative concrete flooring. They resurface pickleball court, tennis court, basketball court. Quality asphalt seal coating. Get your name on the list. The season is counting down. 401 283 9815. Listen, I want to say this. It's yes. I also I want to mention this, that if someone is actually a friend of the family, they would not be encouraging the 19-year-old daughter whose boyfriend just killed her mother and the mother's boyfriend and then himself. If you are really a friend or family member of that 19-year-old, you would not, if you were a friend, you would not be encouraging her right now to do a live interview. Okay, you would not be doing that. Whoever's doing that, whoever would encourage someone in that state of mind is number one, not mature, and number two, they're not looking out or thinking of that person. That is the type of traumatic situation to go through that will take a long time to deal with, in grief, in counseling, and there's no guarantee that you ever get over it. But if someone is claiming to be a friend of the 19-year-old daughter, you're not a friend. You're not a good friend if you're encouraging them to do an interview today or even an interview tomorrow or whenever they want. Now, again, we're going to be live later. If she insists and she wants to come on, fine. That's number one. Number two, her mind is not in a good spot. I don't know how it can be. There will be no trial here because the shooter is dead. So no, it's a horrific situation. And I think there are people that flame up someone in that. And we saw some of them, yeah. It reminds me a little bit of, think of a situation in high school and there's, two guys. Well, my experience was you're in the boys' room or the men's room or in the locker room and one guy starts to challenge someone to a fight, and then people that want to see a fight be like, yeah, you should swing back. Yeah, kid, don't take that. They don't care if there's going to be a fight. They just want to be entertained by the fight. So, no. I mean, of course, the 19-year-old should not be doing any interviews. And on top of that, I would question the judgment of anyone based on what they just went through. And on top of that, if that's your boyfriend and you're bringing him into the household. So, I mean, to me, that's like another strike. But we're going to be live later. If for whatever reason, hey, if you're a friend of the 19-year-old, right now, drive her to channel 10 or whoever and say she wants to do an interview. I'm willing to bet they'll put her on. So most of the time, the media refrain from contacting the family in the aftermath of this. And again, I can't relate like many others. So now if you allow the interview, well, that puts me in a no-win situation. So someone's saying, what you have one people saying, have her on. And other people saying, well, if you let her on, Well, doesn't that put me basically in a no-win situation? I'll tell you what's going to happen is right now we're not going to put her on. If later Chris was listening to the scanner, he can answer that. I again implore the 19-year-old daughter and friends and family. This is a time to grieve. There's a lot to seek in. I suggest you seek counseling. And I'm sure in what happened and the high profile nature of this incident, I'm sure the police could recommend someone. So I don't know about that. We're really just going off what the police said. So I don't know. We don't know that. But I understand in people suddenly now trying to find someone to blame. But let's stay on schedule because I do want to touch on Smithfield. I do want to touch on Smithfield. But whoever these, yes, thank you, Miss Marshall. We'll see. We'll see. It's not something I would recommend to do. But at the same token, then you have people like, you won't even let her speak. But we're not going to let her speak right now. So when people are highly emotional like that, could we allow the language on YouTube? Absolutely. Could we allow the language on Facebook? Of X, of course. But we are live on the radio. And that's where then we have to be a little sensitive to this. I want to touch on the Smithfield situation. I do. But I think we will do a live stream later on. And if the daughter wants to and insists, again, let me think about it a little bit. I didn't think we'd be dealing with a situation that the daughter who was there last night is demanding she wants to be heard on the whole matter. That part, I didn't think we'd hit that. I'm going to err on the side of caution, and we're not going to give her a platform. Folks, this portion of our program, though, brought to you by ServPro of Providence. Remember, fast, thorough, and professional. Call ServPro 401-941-5500. ServPro of Providence. When disaster strikes, whether it's fire or flood or smoke damage or mold, ServPro of Providence, 401-941-5500. No, I did not think that we would be dealing with that. Yes. Well, we have to be cautious. I mean, and it's tough. I want to repeat. I'm going off the information that the police put out. The police said he was living there. We had someone else saying, unconfirmed, he was living there with an ankle bracelet. Now, that part I don't know. Suddenly, we had people pouring in, and then the daughter, the 19-year-old, trying to insist he wasn't living there. I'm going to repeat what I said as calmly and politely as possible. If that information is not correct, you need to contact the Woonsocket police. I'm not the only media outlet that's reporting that. I don't know. I don't understand this business of defending herself. So I don't understand that, Stacy Brown. But I don't understand. Again, the people screaming about that. I could very quickly check. I freely admit, though, folks, this one I did not know that I didn't think we'd be dealing with that. Yes. Thank you, Ron Marshall. But I'll check, and I want to see just quickly. I don't know if they're going to have all the details. Police through ID in Woonsocket murder-suicide. Call to the home. According to police, they were discussing their strained relationship. He allegedly pulled out a gun and threatened her. The daughter told police Rivera assaulted her. She ran to her mother's room. Rivera shot the mother multiple times. 19-year-old managed to escape police. Roderick got home, the boyfriend, and he shot him before shooting himself. Now, they don't have that he was living there, but now that's just Channel 12 took out that he was living there. I didn't say that. I just said we're not going to give her one right now. So, according to police, Found 3 gunshot victims. Now, this is Channel 10. The argument had been, the apartment had been occupied by the mother, her boyfriend, the 19-year-old daughter, and the daughter's boyfriend, Rivera. So that is Channel 10. So I encourage the daughter. This business of, thank you, Joe. This business of that she needs a platform to. No one is disparaging her. We're not. I said we would tonight, but we're not going to do it at. We're not going to be coerced in that way. So, yes, thank you, Elizabeth. I didn't realize we'd have so many family members here. I didn't realize that. And I didn't realize that people would be disputing what the police put out. So I'll say this to the family and also the daughter. There's 2 people. You need to contact Channel 10 and you need to contact the Woonsocket police who put out the statement that he was living there. Yep. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa knows. That is exactly right. Contact everybody. It really begins with the police. So the police are the ones that put that out. So the daughter is screaming that the boyfriend didn't live there. You need to take that up with the police. So, because Channel 10 is going off the same information that I have as well. I want to touch on the Smithfield situation to pivot. I believe we'll do a live stream later. And if the daughter, I don't think she should, but I noticed this business of people of this business of people of you need to give her a platform. I don't think I understand that. Right now, that's the only information that we have about that. I want to just touch on Smithfield. And Smithfield, to me, hear me very clearly, Smithfield, to me, the situation at the high school, to me, this sounds like another situation where the students have been let down by the adults in that equation. Now, we saw the situation in Pontiac, where there were rumors about that gym teacher. For whatever reason, nothing was done. And then we learned that, sadly, a lot of the rumors were true. But the Smithfield situation, the superintendent, I believe now there's more to the story. And I want to back up. The attorney and the parents are claiming that at no time was there anything anti-Semitic done with the, quote, hazing of the freshmen. That's what they're claiming. Now, here's where, to me, the superintendent, they really dropped the ball. Because I heard from Jewish organizations that, they were talking about how Auschwitz and spraying them and saying Jew germs and other things like that. And now the attorney and the parents are all claiming at no point was there any mention that the student was Jewish, and so there was no anti-Semitism. But let's back up for a moment. Congressman Gabe Amo, there was a press conference. A problem in Smithfield is the perception becomes the reality. And the perception was that it was an anti-Semitic incident. And so if there was never a mention that they weren't doing it because he was Jewish, there was no mention of Jew germs. There was no mention of, he can play on the team. Instead of the QB, he'll be the Jew B. No mention of that. Do you understand? There was a press conference. 2 Jewish organizations, political leaders, Governor McKee weighed in. No room for anti-Semitism in the schools. My question is, what were the superintendent, the principal, the athletic director, why were they silent? Let me tell you what should have happened in Smithfield. If all of that is true, then why were the parents of the student going to the attorney general's office saying, I want this investigated as a hate crime? This is the part. This is where the superintendent needed to be a leader, and where I don't believe she was a leader. And that is the moment she learned in Smithfield that there was going to be a press conference, and you're going to have a sitting congressman step up and say there's no room for anti-Semitism in these schools. And you have Governor McKee really, the moment that happened, before it happened actually, that superintendent needed to contact the congressman's office, the Jewish organization, and say, hold on, but you can't do this press conference because we've investigated, and at no point was there any mention that they were doing this because the student was Jewish. That wasn't done. To me, the superintendent, the fact that she was just silent and they just let all this play out. If I were a parent of one of those 5 students, I would be ripped because that suddenly became the narrative. You know, I'll admit, when I first heard it from someone that's a member of the Jewish organization, I kind of felt like, really, that happened? But then there's the press conference, and then they're all stepping up, and no one's saying anything. In this business that, you know, they missed a game, and they had to go through training, and then they were going to have a Holocaust survivor talk to them. I mean, it's the ultimate. If it, you know, sounds like a duck and walks like a duck, at no point, let's just for a moment now, let's take this attorney at his word. Let's take the parents at their word. If at no point there was any type of anti-Semitic talk or gesture, that needed to be loud and clear. Then they should have been, that superintendent and the football coach or the athletic director, whoever, principal at Smithfield, should have said, what they did was inappropriate, but we want to be crystal clear. There was nothing about anti-Semitism. Zero. Therefore, this is not, was it wrong? It sounds stupid. Now people are saying they were using Febreze, even though other people, you know, the Jewish organization was saying Lysol. What I don't understand. So you're the superintendent, and you I don't. Now, if that superintendent says, well, I was given legal advice, what are you talking about? A sitting congressman, Gabe Amo, went and spoke. Governor McKee, all the adults are all nodding. We can't tolerate anti-Semitism at Smithfield High School. And the superintendent and the athletic director and the principal and the coach are all sitting silent, not saying anything. They allowed that to become the narrative. And that became the narrative again, I initially was suspect of the story, but then when you see, wow, I mean, I thought then I guess, you know, because I'm a member of the Rhode Island Coalition for Israel. They asked me, or a member did, how come you're not jumping on the Smithfield story? I've said, I'm kind of waiting for confirmation on it. I don't feel comfortable. I haven't really heard that that's what happened. And then they have a press conference, and then there's Governor McKee, and there's, you know, Amo and whoever else. I think Matos was there. We should not allow anti-Semitism at Smithfield High School. Now, this is also really a problem. When those boys, those 5 seniors came back to practice, number one, they definitely dropped the ball by not talking to the freshman student and his parents. But the superintendent, the coach, the athletic director, they should have been crystal clear that, you know, we don't like what they did. It was stupid. It was juvenile. It shouldn't be tolerated. But just so we're all on the same page, they've done this to other freshmen. They did it because he's a freshman. They didn't even know what his faith is. They didn't know that he's Jewish. They should have been crystal clear, because look at the confluence of things that happened. And then they cancel the meeting. Why did they cancel the meeting? Because too many people are going to turn out. Well, too many people are going to turn out is because you were silent about it. I understand a little bit that a superintendent may say, hey, listen, I'm there for the curriculum. I'm there to make sure that this is implemented and reading and test scores. I, this whole notion of I didn't sign up for this. Look what it turned into. That is the narrative. The perception became the reality. And right now, if you know one of those parents, now them I'll give a platform to. Because everyone's talking about potential lawsuit of the Jewish student and his parents. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if the real lawsuit would be of the 5 senior players and their parents towards the district. That superintendent, at no point should they have been silent. That superintendent should have been out in front of that story. The reason we let those boys back is because it was stupid, but there was nothing anti-Semitic. We can't find any evidence of it. We investigated it. At no point was that ever mentioned. It had nothing to do with why they gave him whatever they call it, a Febreze bath, or however stupid that may sound. But they needed to be crystal clear and get in front of that. And they showed poor judgment. But to let them back and then let this thing explode, everyone's waiting for someone to step forward. I believe the students were let down by the adults, because as a student, you're expecting the adults to be the reasonable ones, the adults to step forward, the adults to, there's a world of difference of that. If you have 3 freshmen, and as stupid as it is, you have 3 freshmen and you say you're a freshman, and so you 3 have to bring in the equipment from the field. Part of being a rookie on the team. We hear about in the pros, the rookies, they have them do stupid things or little stuff like that. It sounds stupid, but it's all supposedly part of the team and blah, blah, blah. It's not exactly a code red, but if you have 3 freshman students, 3 freshmen on the football team, and you say it's tradition, you guys got to pick up the equipment after practice and then carry the helmets of whatever, and all the freshmen have to do it, that's one thing. But then if you have a student of color that's saying he was picked out to do it because he's a student of color, that's a problem. If you have a Jewish student that says the reason they made me do it was because I'm Jewish, that's a problem. I would say last night, for the attorney, for the parents and others to finally step forward and say, just so we're clear, at no point was there any anti-Semitism with what they did with that student. You want to talk about, boy, the horse has left the barn. I want to come back to the adults in this situation. The superintendent, I get it. You don't want to deal with it. I want to deal. I know someone that knows the superintendent. She wants to deal with test scores. She wants to deal with curriculum. She doesn't want to deal with this type of stuff. Well, by being silent, look at the narrative that took shape by being silent, because the perception became the reality that suddenly now that student was singled out because he's Jewish. All right. I believe we're going to do a live stream later on Central Falls and Woonsocket, and then the language can go. Pray for the victims here and pray for the 19-year-old daughter. Again, we're going to have a lot more. We have video up on the website, depetro.com. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, we'll do a live stream later on the situation in Woonsocket.